My name is Louisa McCovey. I'm the Environmental Program Director. Live here in Requa, California. Raise 4 kids here on the river with my husband, who's also the Fisheries Director. The Yurok Tribe Environmental Program is made up of 5 divisions. We have and do the whole host of environmental functions that you would find in a typical tribal environmental program. We have a water division, pollution prevention division, community and ecosystems, enforcement, response and education, and food sovereignty. And the 2 latter divisions are sort of new to the program. Really exciting developments, and food sovereignty is a little bit out of the traditional scope of an environmental program, and we are excited to sort of take on that work and find a home for those efforts that we're looking to spark up here on the reservation. The tribal members and the residents of the reservation face many challenges when it comes to food. It's a literal food desert, and just being a resident of this place and living here, I can tell you firsthand that it's frustrating, and it's a challenge to not be able to go to the grocery store and get what you need, for your home to provide, healthy sustenance for your family. We're living in a place here where, our traditional land management practices have been halted, have been attempted to be, disappeared as a form of, genocide, as a colonization. And so we're fighting to bring those back, and fighting to revitalize our lands and restore balance in our river and our forests, so that we can, maintain our connection with the land, so that we can continue to, harvest our traditional foods. It's so much more than food, it's so much more than food. It's about cultural connection, it's about intergenerational knowledge, it's about passing that on, and being able to do that over and over, and not break those connections. And the way that we do that is through a healthy environment, through a healthy river with plentiful fish, through healthy forests, and good fire and traditional land management practices, so that we can continue to do that. And so it's been a long road to get here. We're kind of coming full circle. We've been here since time began. We were able to live this very plentiful life here in this place, and we were, our lifeways were disrupted very, abruptly. And so we're coming back around. We've experienced that. Our people have gone through a lot of trauma. Our land and water has gone through a lot of trauma. And we're now trying to come back around and reconnect the circle, like reintroduce these things and maintain those connections. And so, it's like I said, it's so much more than food. This work and these projects are about so much more than just, planting a garden, or picking some berries, or harvesting some fish. It's all kind of, it's about way of life. Our people have been gathering traditional foods forever. We never stopped doing that. But the idea of, kind of formally organizing that effort on the tribal governmental side, we looked around in the environmental program and figured out that, it didn't have a home. There had been efforts here and there, a couple grants here and there, and that it needed a home. And so we kind of put together a organizational structure. We went to tribal council and we said, hey, we want to do this work, and they were fully supportive. And then I worked with the planning department and got the first initial grant. We developed this idea of food villages. We're going to put one here at Minot Creek. The tribe purchased this beautiful property here, 48 acres. Half of it's kind of forested, the rest is pasture land with some real potential for wetland and stream restoration, with Minot Creek flowing through here, and some prime restoration sites for wetland areas. This is a culmination of all these really great things, like the school is here. And so Minot Creek would be one, and then the other 2, one in the Weitchpec area to serve that kind of community there, and one in Weitchpec. And so it's kind of bigger picture things too, is like we're trying to work on making spaces and a place where tribal members and our people want to move back to. We want to eliminate those food deserts. We want to allow people access to land where they can go gather acorns safely, where they know that it's been burned, where they know that it's being taken care of, and so they can start reconnecting and maintaining connections and restoring that balance. That's kind of the idea of the food villages, and we want to site them next to schools so that we can incorporate these ideas into youth, so that it's not a foreign idea like where your food comes from. It's all built in, and just being like so much more than food. It's also about environmental restoration. It's about environmental stewardship. It's about responsibility to the land, making sure that you're being as safe as possible and not introducing chemicals to the soil when you're growing stuff, and just being mindful of all of those things. And it's also like about the intergenerational kind of knowledge. Like the idea is that we have these structures here where we can teach classes, where we can invite elders in, and so that they can teach classes to the youth that are here, and so they're learning these things, because not everyone is lucky enough to have grown up in a traditional household, and we want to kind of provide that where it's not readily available to youth and to even to anyone who wants to come and learn and reconnect. And so that's part of it too. It's a good and unique kind of relationship and partnership with the environmental program taking on this work, because we can look through this kind of restorative scientific lens. We're able to say, hey, maybe there's some pollution on the land, let's take some soil samples, or let's work with our fisheries program to make sure that we're having best management practices. And it's a real good place to start from, so that we're being most protective as we start to develop these sites for farms, so that we can, come make the connection with, data collection and, introducing that type of knowledge and bridging the gap between, Western science and traditional ecological knowledge when it comes to food production. And with the schools close by, it's a real easy thing to bridge when the kids are right there. So that's all part of it too. And it's great work. It's really fulfilling. It feels great to be able to focus some energy on this type of stuff, because it's not just about me. It's not just about a singular person in a certain amount of time. It's about obviously way into the future, and being able to build these programs now so that they're sustainable and they last forever, and so that you can see benefits forever for many generations. I think direct funding, it always kind of comes down to this trust responsibility, and providing direct funding to tribes, so that honoring sovereignty and giving tribes a direct pot of funding to do what they need to do on their land. I think the NRCS is traditionally focused on big agriculture and your conventional agriculture, but I think if there was a way for them to focus specifically on traditional land management practices and allowing tribes to reintroduce fire if that's what they want to do, or just utilizing the traditional ecological knowledge, I think would be great. Just tribally specific programs. Right now, I think the way it is you kind of have to be creative to fit that in. So if they could do that, I think it'd be great. I think if the NRCS really wanted to benefit tribes and tribal programs, they could honor sovereignty and honor the tribal governmental structure by providing direct, non-competitive funding to tribes, where tribes could do, traditional land management practices instead of trying to fit our needs into their existing programs. They make specific tribal funding.